Thanks so much. Great to be here with everyone. My name is Kal Patel. I'm CEO and co-founder of Bright Insight. Bright Insight is the leading global regulated digital health platform for biopharma and medtech. Like all of us here at Bright Insight, I come with a deep amount of experience within healthcare. I'm a physician MBA by training, spent a lot of time working for pharma and medtech as a consultant and in the industry at both Novartis and Amgen. I spent the latter part of my career really focused on digital health. How do we bring the power of technology to improving how pharma and medtech products work in the real world? I then brought that experience to the telemedicine side, and over the last 3 to 4 years, you're focused really around Bright Insight. What we're doing here with Bright Insight is that we solve a really big problem for pharma and medtech. As they are working on regulated digital health innovation, we're the platform on top of which they can build. And I'll talk more about that in a second. A couple of key highlights for us at a corporate level. So firstly, we're venture backed by some of the leading investors in the tech and healthcare space, Insight Partners, New Leaf, and Eclipse. We're currently 100 plus people based here in the US and Europe. And importantly, we've established ourselves with some of the leading biopharma and medtech companies. Our public customers include NovoNordisk, Roche, AstraZeneca, and CSL Behring, some of the leaders in the biopharma and medtech space. We've also been recognized by numerous awards. In addition to the CB Insights Award, we have received Google Cloud's Healthcare and Life Sciences Partner of the Year Award for 2 years in a row. So as we think about digital health when it comes to pharma and medtech, I think most of you here know that there's a tremendous number of opportunities for the industry. Everything from how do they enhance and accelerate clinical trials, to how do you improve adherence to therapies, to how do you capture data in the real world and use that to personalize treatments and improve outcomes. And that's just a small example of the many ways that pharma and medtech can leverage digital health. However, there's a common challenge that all of them have to move forward in the regulated digital health space. And some of those existing ones are key ones are the ones that you see here. First of all, when you think about infrastructure to support digital health, it's really expensive to build. Secondly, it's not just about building it once, but you got to think about how do you maintain that infrastructure and how do you scale it across many geographies. And when you get into those scaling issues, you now have to think about the complex regulatory environment from country to country, the privacy requirement, as well as changing security and compliance requirements. And lastly, I think it's important to think about the fact that when you're trying to innovate in a space, you need to differentiate on what's your unique value add versus what should be common infrastructure that you're leveraging. The infrastructure for digital health innovation for pharma and medtech, that's not the competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is really focusing on their innovation and bringing that to market in a compliant and scalable way. And that's what we help our customers enable. So what Bright Insight is, as I mentioned, is a fully regulated platform for the pharma and medtech industry. So what we are is a modern software stack. So think microservices, containers, APIs. Put the jargon aside, we basically integrate into the source of the data. So our customers are building regulated algorithms, regulated apps, connected drug delivery devices. They're building things like wearables, implantables, et cetera. And when they build those, we integrate into the source of the data and take over all of the responsibility from a privacy, security, regulatory, and quality perspective. Our infrastructure then captures that data and brings it to the back end, enables our customers to turn that raw data into insight. Let's say, for example, a personalized drug dose, and then push that back out to the patient or the device or a caregiver provider in a completely compliant manner. So the first thing we did, and what's extremely unique for our solution, is we put in place a quality management system that governs all the way to the highest level of risk from a regulatory perspective. So from a US FDA perspective, that means our infrastructure is at the level of class 3 and combination product intended use. So we have the quality management systems to support that here in the EU and broadly speaking across the world. Secondly, we bring that same level of robustness from a data privacy and data security perspective. So we're HITRUST 9.1, working our way towards here to be the latest release of HITRUST called 9.3. We also bring the principles of NIST cybersecurity or ISO 27001 and so forth, compliant and so forth. So if you think about what our customers are trying to do, we are that infrastructure that they can leverage versus having to home grow this very tedious, hard to do and expensive infrastructure, and to build and maintain that at a global level. So let me just talk about a couple of examples of how our customers are using us today. As I mentioned, one of our public customers is NovoNordisk, the global leader in diabetes care. What we're helping them do is bring connectivity to all of their various drug delivery devices that support their short and long-acting insulin. So this is a combination of the connected device, the apps to support the patient, the integration from third-party glucose monitors, like continuous glucose monitors, as well as algorithms and other areas that are needed to provide support to the patient. So we are a common infrastructure that integrates data from all of those sources: the patient, the drug delivery device, and the glucose monitors. And then we allow for that data to be compliantly processed in the back end, and then insights to be derived at the level of a specific patient, and then that insight then to be deployed in a compliant manner back to that patient. For example, to improve adherence to taking their glucose reading, and or adherence to the medications, and or adherence to activities, and so forth. So we really become that compliant infrastructure that lets a company like NovoNordisk that operates in 180 countries really think about accelerating their regulated digital health innovation speed to market, the global expansion of that innovation, and the continued iterative improvement of that without having to worry about the requirements around data privacy, security, regulatory, and quality. As a specific example within that, for example, our infrastructure is GDPR compliant, right? We have, as I mentioned earlier, high trust certification. We've actually taken the requirements of GDPR and instantiated that as an API call. So literally, you can just integrate that into your solution, and our customers can use that as a clear benefit for them. I'll just briefly touch on one other example. Another one of our public customers I mentioned is Roche. This is an example in the hematology space. The thing that I'll highlight here for this drug dosing calculator is we actually brought this to market in 5 months from when we contracted with Roche to when we brought this innovation as a class 2 device to the market. So I think that really speaks to leveraging the capabilities of our infrastructure to bring that speed to market. So I know this was a really quick introduction to Bright Insight, but hopefully you guys can see the power of what a regulated platform can do when it's really dedicated for the industry's needs. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.